Homeless woman cries, "Please don't take my baby." The single dad CEO millionaire can't walk away. The city street was alive with the familiar midday bustle, honking cars, chattering pedestrians, weaving hurriedly through the crowd, and the steady rhythm of footsteps splashing on wet pavement. Vendors called out their wares, coffee shops spilled the aroma of fresh brew into the air, and sunlight filtered weakly through the haze of early spring. But amidst this ordinary urban symphony, a sharp, desperate cry suddenly sliced through the noise. Drawing startled glances from passers-by, near the corner, a young woman stood trembling, her blonde hair tangled and damp with tears, strands falling haphazardly across her tear-streaked face. Her eyes were red-rimmed and swollen, reflecting a mixture of fear and fierce determination. Clutched tightly to her chest was a tiny infant, swaddled in a threadbare blanket, the baby's soft breaths barely audible beneath her protective hold. Her voice quivered as she shouted, her words raw with urgency and pleading, "Please, don't take my baby!" The cause of her distress was a burly man who lunged forward, his rough hands reaching desperately toward the child. His face was hard and grimy, eyes wild with desperation, or something darker, and his voice was rough and threatening as he growled, "Give me the baby! You don't deserve him!" His fingers grazed the delicate fabric of the infant's blanket as if testing his grasp, but the woman's grip only tightened, her sobs growing louder, trembling but unyielding. "No! This is my son! You won't have him!" Her voice broke on the last word, but there was a steel in her tone that spoke of unwavering maternal love. Amidst the chaos, a figure moved swiftly with purpose. Jack Harper, a man in his mid-30s, stepped out from the flow of hurried pedestrians. His dark suit was crisp but not flashy, and his eyes, sharp and steady, immediately fixed on the unfolding scene. There was a calm authority in his posture, a quiet confidence that seemed to command attention without effort. Without hesitation, Jack closed the distance, his voice low but firm as he addressed the man. "Sir, step away from the child." The man glared at him, nostrils flaring, but Jack's presence, steady and unyielding, stopped him dead in his tracks. "Let her go. Now." The words carried a weight that brooked no argument. Curious onlookers gathered slowly, their conversations dying down as they watched the tense standoff. Jack positioned himself firmly between the desperate man and the young mother, his stance protective, radiating strength and resolve. The aggressor snarled, frustration flickering across his face, then turned and slipped back into the crowd as suddenly as he had appeared. Jack turned toward the woman, his voice softening as he knelt slightly to meet her gaze. "You're safe now. What's your name?" "Pamela," she whispered, voice cracking under the weight of exhaustion and relief. She hugged her baby closer, eyes searching Jack's face with fragile hope. "I don't have anywhere else to go. Nowhere safe to keep him." Jack's gaze softened, his own heart touched by her vulnerability and courage. "You're not alone anymore," he said gently. "Come with me. I'll help you." For a moment, the city's usual hum seemed to pause, as if holding its breath in recognition of the moment's gravity. Strangers who had been lost in their own worlds now shared a collective witness to this quiet act of heroism. A man who refused to turn away from someone in desperate need. Jack took Pamela's hand carefully, guiding her away from the cold, noisy street and toward a place of safety. The baby, sensing the shift, nestled closer into Pamela's embrace, the first flicker of peace settling over the small trio. Under the heavy gray sky, amid the towering buildings and the endless flow of life, a new story began, one woven from rescue, hope, and the unbreakable bond between a mother, her child, and a man who stepped in when it mattered most. Jack Harper's world was one filled with sleek glass towers that stretched toward the sky, boardrooms echoing with intense discussions, and the hum of cutting-edge medical technology powering the future. As the CEO of a leading health tech company, Jack's days were consumed with strategy sessions, critical decisions, and endless negotiations. The pace was relentless, the stakes high. But beneath the polished exterior of the successful businessman was a devoted father, a single dad to a bright, curious 6-year-old boy named Ethan. Despite the pressures of his position, Jack's life always revolved around making sure Ethan felt loved, protected, and secure. Though Jack's wealth and status placed him comfortably among the elite, his personal life was refreshingly simple. His home was a sanctuary, warm, inviting, and filled with the genuine sounds of childhood laughter and playful banter. When the day's meetings ended, Jack swapped his tailored suits for comfortable clothes and devoted his evenings to bedtime stories, homework help, and quiet moments with his son. His heart was generous. Whenever possible, he extended kindness to those in need, understanding that true wealth was measured by compassion, not bank accounts. Pamela's world, in stark contrast, was shaped by hardship and uncertainty. At 24, she once held a steady job and lived in a modest apartment, dreaming of a stable future for herself and her newborn son. But life had dealt her a cruel hand. The loss of employment, the collapse of her home life, and the absence of family support had left her navigating the unforgiving streets. Clad in worn clothes, with golden hair tangled and often unwashed, Pamela carried herself with a quiet dignity, despite the harsh realities surrounding her. Beneath the surface of hardship, however, was a spirit unbroken, a young woman fiercely determined to rise again, fueled by an unwavering love for her child. When Jack took Pamela and her infant son to a local shelter, the divide between their worlds became starkly evident. The shelter was a far cry from Jack's sleek offices and luxury homes, walls with peeling paint, floors creaking beneath tired footsteps, and a sense of uncertainty hanging thick in the air. Yet, amidst the struggle, Pamela moved with quiet grace. She accepted the offered help without entitlement, showing gratitude for every small kindness extended her way. Her humility and strength radiated in every glance, every small gesture, qualities that did not go unnoticed by Jack. Jack observed Pamela closely. He saw the tender way she cared for her baby, gently rocking him to sleep despite her own exhaustion and pain. He noticed her sharp mind as she asked practical questions about available services and opportunities to rebuild her life. There was an undeniable resilience in Pamela, a toughness tempered by tenderness that stirred something deep within Jack's heart. Though their lives existed on different planes, Jack deeply respected Pamela's determination not to be defined by her circumstances. She wasn't seeking charity or pity. She wanted a chance, an opportunity to stand on her own 2 feet and create a better life for her child. That fierce independence and raw authenticity made all the difference to Jack. Meeting Pamela was no mere act of goodwill. It was the beginning of a profound connection rooted in mutual respect, hope, and the shared desire to protect and nurture the next generation. Pamela stepped cautiously through the doors of the shelter, clutching her baby close to her chest. The air inside was heavy with the scent of worn blankets and the faint odor of disinfectant, a sharp contrast to the cold, biting wind she had just left outside. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glare on peeling walls and tired faces. Immediately, she felt the weight of countless eyes, curious, skeptical, some outright hostile, falling upon her. People who had lived through their own battles, hardened by years of struggle, now measured her silently. Pamela's worn coat and tired smile seemed to confirm the unspoken assumptions. A woman near the entrance muttered under her breath, loud enough for Pamela to hear, "Another one just passing through, thinking she's better than us." Several heads nodded in agreement, whispers rippling through the room like a cold draft. Pamela's heart clenched. She felt their judgment like a physical blow. She wanted to explain, to tell them how she'd lost everything, how she fought just to keep her baby safe, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she lowered her gaze, clutching her child tighter, seeking refuge in his warmth. Jack, standing nearby in his tailored coat, noticed the cold reception. His face remained calm, but his eyes burned with quiet determination. He stepped forward, addressing the murmurs with a voice clear and respectful. "Pamela is with us now. She's not here to take anything from anyone, just trying to rebuild a life. His presence carried weight. The room, momentarily silenced, shifted its focus. The murmurs died down, replaced by uneasy glances. Some of the residents were wary, unused to seeing someone from such a different world speak so plainly on behalf of someone like Pamela. One elderly man, bent with age and life's hardships, pushed through the crowd. His voice was rough, but loud enough to command attention. "Why should we trust her? People like her come and go. They don't stay, don't help themselves." His eyes bore into Pamela, challenging and accusatory. Pamela's face paled, a flush of shame and fear washing over her. She wanted to retreat, to disappear into the shadows, but then she thought of her baby's fragile breathing, the tiny fingers curled against her coat. She squared her shoulders, swallowing the lump in her throat. Jack raised a hand gently to quiet the room and spoke again, this time sharing a part of his own story. "I understand skepticism. I lost my wife years ago and became a single father overnight. I've faced loneliness and doubt too, though not in this place. But I've learned that everyone has a story, pain, hope, and a chance to change." He looked at Pamela with unwavering respect. Pamela is fighting to give her child a better life. Like all of us here, she deserves that chance. The shelter's residents exchanged glances, the tension easing slightly. The old man's stern expression softened, replaced by a reluctant nod. A few others murmured their agreement, acknowledging the truth in Jack's words. Pamela felt a fragile hope kindle within her. Though the path ahead was uncertain, this moment of acceptance was a balm to her weary spirit. She gave a small, grateful smile to Jack, who returned it with quiet encouragement. In the days that followed, Pamela battled the inner demons that whispered doubt and fear. She grappled with the sting of judgment and the uncertainty of her new reality. But every time she looked at her baby's peaceful face, her resolve grew stronger. She was determined not to let the harshness of the world break her or her child's future. Jack remained by her side, a steady presence amid the storm. Together they navigated the delicate balance between hope and hardship, building trust, not just between themselves, but within a community wary of outsiders. This fragile harmony was a turning point, the second peak of their journey, where prejudice met compassion, and two very different worlds began to understand one another. Pamela sat quietly beside Jack in the small, dimly lit room of the shelter, her hands gently cradling her sleeping baby. The soft glow of a single lamp cast warm shadows across their faces, wrapping them in a fragile cocoon of safety amidst the cold harshness outside. She took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling slowly as she gathered courage to share a part of her life she rarely spoke about. Her voice trembled slightly at first, wavering under the weight of memories long buried, but with each word she grew steadier, unfolding her story with raw honesty. "My parents died when I was just a teenager," she began, her eyes drifting somewhere far away, as if reliving the pain anew. "It was sudden and cruel. I was left alone, no family to lean on, no safety net beneath me. I thought things would get better with time, but life had other plans." Her lips pressed tightly as she swallowed hard, fighting back tears. "Then I met someone who promised to stay, to love me and the baby I was carrying. But when I told him I was pregnant, he left, just like that." Her voice cracked, fragile but unwavering. "Since then, it's been a constant fight, people judging me, whispering behind my back, calling me names, treating me like I was nothing. I was scared, so terribly lonely. But through it all, I never stopped loving my son. He's the reason I'm still here." Jack listened intently, his usually guarded face softening with every word. The pain in her story resonated deeply within him. After a moment, he reached out and gently touched her hand, in a quiet gesture of solidarity and understanding. "Thank you for trusting me with that," he said softly, his voice filled with genuine compassion. And then it was his turn to share. His voice dropped to a low, almost weary tone, carrying the heavy weight of years of pain and responsibility. "I lost my wife in a car accident when my son was just a baby," he confessed, his eyes darkening with the memory. "One moment we were a family of 3, and the next I was alone, raising Ethan without the woman I loved. The responsibility has been the hardest thing I've ever faced. Sometimes, grief hits me like a wave I can't escape." He paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. "But every day, I try to be strong for him." Pamela nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting a deep empathy born of shared sorrow. "I can't imagine that kind of loss," she whispered, voice gentle. "But I do know what it's like to feel the world closing in, to feel completely against the odds." Her gaze met his, fierce with quiet strength. "That's why I fight so hard." In that small, bare room, surrounded by the harsh reality of their situation, something powerful took shape. A quiet bond forged not just by shared struggles, but by the fierce, unyielding love each held for their children. It was a connection that went beyond words, a mutual understanding that healed invisible wounds. To mark this newfound trust, Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple silver necklace with a small pendant shaped like a delicate leaf, a symbol of growth, renewal, and new beginnings. "I want you to have this," he said gently, fastening it around Pamela's neck. "Let it remind you that no matter what we've been through, there's always hope. We can grow beyond the pain." Tears shimmered in Pamela's eyes as she traced the pendant softly with her fingertips. "Thank you, Jack," she murmured, voice thick with emotion. "That means more than you know." Over the following days, Pamela's relationship with Jack's son, Ethan, blossomed. She watched him with gentle affection, playing quietly at his side, reading the silly stories he adored, laughing at his jokes with warmth that melted any lingering hesitation. Ethan, initially shy and reserved around the newcomer, gradually reached for her hand, inviting her into his world with the innocence and trust only a child can offer. Jack observed this growing closeness with a sense of relief and gratitude. Seeing Pamela nurture his son with such tenderness and care deepened his respect and admiration for her. It became clear that Pamela was not only fighting to rebuild her own life, but was also opening her heart to become a part of his family. Together they began weaving new threads of hope, love, and healing, threads strong enough to support the bright future they all dreamed of. Pamela's first day at the Community Outreach Center, a nonprofit funded partly by Jack's investments, dawned crisp and clear. She arrived early, dressed in simple but clean clothes Jack had helped her acquire. The nervous flutter in her stomach reminded her of her first day at any new job, except this time, the stakes felt higher. This wasn't just about employment. It was a chance to reclaim her dignity and build a future for her child. Jack had personally vouched for her, smoothing the way with the center's director, who agreed to give Pamela a temporary position, assisting with administrative tasks and client outreach. Though the work was modest, it was meaningful, helping others who faced hardship, much like herself. From the very first moment, Pamela threw herself into the role. She arrived early and stayed late, learning the ropes quickly and adapting to the new environment. Her genuine empathy shone through in every phone call and conversation, earning nods of respect from some coworkers. Despite the exhaustion from juggling motherhood and work, Pamela's determination never wavered. Jack remained a steady presence in the background, discreetly ensuring Pamela had the support she needed. Recognizing the challenges she faced balancing work and childcare, he arranged for a trusted caregiver to look after her infant while she was on shift. This simple gesture relieved a heavy burden from her shoulders, allowing her to focus on proving herself professionally. However, not everyone welcomed Pamela's arrival. Whispers and sideways glances followed her down the hallways. Some colleagues speculated about her past, rumors of homelessness, assumptions of incompetence, and thinly veiled judgments about her character. One supervisor, a stern woman with sharp eyes, questioned Pamela's reliability during a team meeting, suggesting her background might disrupt the harmony of the department. The tension mounted, as Pamela felt the weight of suspicion daily. It wasn't just about doing her job well anymore, it was a battle for acceptance and respect. The pressure threatened to overwhelm her, but she drew strength from Jack's unwavering belief in her. One afternoon, the supervisor confronted Pamela directly, insinuating that she might be using the job as a stepping stone without true commitment. Pamela's eyes filled with tears, the sting of doubt nearly breaking her resolve. But instead of retreating, she steadied herself, recalling all she had overcome. That evening, Jack found her sitting quietly in a nearby park, the city lights twinkling in the distance. He sat beside her, offering a silent comfort before speaking gently. "You're stronger than you think, Pamela. Don't let anyone make you question what you're capable of." The next day, during a staff meeting, an incident threatened to confirm the worst suspicions. A misfiled document was mistakenly attributed to Pamela, and some co-workers began whispering accusations. Instead of letting the rumors spiral, Jack calmly intervened. He reviewed the facts, cleared Pamela's name, and addressed the team with quiet authority. "This is a place for growth and support," he said firmly. "Mistakes happen, but we don't let fear or prejudice cloud our judgment. Pamela has shown nothing but dedication and integrity." His words carried the weight of his position and genuine conviction, silencing doubters. Pamela watched from the back of the room, gratitude swelling in her chest. The simple yet profound support from Jack renewed her confidence. With renewed determination, she tackled her work with even greater focus, her efforts gradually winning over skeptical colleagues. As weeks passed, Pamela's competence and commitment became undeniable. Her warmth and resilience inspired others, and she slowly carved out a respected place within the organization. Jack's subtle yet consistent support, whether through a reassuring smile, a timely word of encouragement, or standing firmly by her side, proved invaluable. Together they navigated the complexities of a new environment fraught with challenges, prejudice, and high expectations. Pamela's journey was no longer just about survival. It was about thriving against the odds, bolstered by the trust and partnership she found with Jack. This chapter of their lives marked a crucial turning point, a testament to resilience, the power of belief, and the transformative impact of unwavering support. It was here, amid the trials and triumphs, that their shared story of hope and determination blossomed, paving the way for the family they were building together. The calm progress Pamela had begun to make in her new life was shattered one cold evening when her past came rushing back with an unexpected and terrifying force. A knock at the door startled her. When she opened it, there stood a man whose face stirred a flood of painful memories. Her ex-boyfriend, Mark. His eyes were hard, his posture rigid with unspoken menace. Without preamble, he demanded to see their child, his voice low but threatening. "I want to see my son," he insisted. "I'm going to fight for custody. You won't keep him from me." Pamela's heart pounded fiercely in her chest. The man who had abandoned her during the darkest time of her pregnancy was now threatening to take away the one thing she loved most. Panic rose like a tide within her. The thought of losing her baby again, the thought of the child she had fought so hard to protect being ripped from her arms, was unbearable. Tears welled up, but she fought to keep them back, knowing that she needed strength for her child's sake. Shaken, Pamela immediately reached out to Jack, who was already aware of some of the shadows lurking in her past. Upon hearing the news, Jack's face tightened with concern, but his resolve was unmistakable. "We will not let this happen," he said firmly. "I'll make sure you're protected." Jack's approach was methodical. He connected Pamela with a trusted family lawyer known for advocating fiercely for mothers' rights. Using his influence and resources, he secured immediate legal counsel, helping Pamela file for full custody and a restraining order against Mark. Jack attended every meeting and court hearing by her side, lending her strength through his presence and unwavering support. Despite these legal measures, the threat soon escalated beyond paperwork and courtroom battles. One night, Pamela's modest apartment building, the place she had come to regard as a fragile sanctuary, caught fire under suspicious circumstances. Flames roared through the narrow hallways, thick smoke choking the air. Pamela, awakened by the noise and heat, grabbed her baby and rushed toward the exit, but the fire blocked her path. Fear seized her, her lungs burning as the smoke thickened. She called out for help, her voice raw with desperation. It was Jack who arrived first, alerted by a neighbor who had seen the smoke. Without hesitation, he rushed into the blazing building, his mind focused solely on finding Pamela and her child. Navigating through the choking smoke and falling debris, Jack's powerful arms steadied Pamela as he led her and the baby toward safety. He shielded them from falling embers, shielded them from panic, and pushed forward with fierce determination. Emerging into the cold night air, he collapsed for a moment, catching his breath, but immediately checking on Pamela and the baby. Pamela, shaking but unharmed, looked up at Jack with a mixture of gratitude and awe. In that moment, the bond between them deepened beyond words. She realized that Jack was not just her protector, but her unwavering anchor in a world that had often been cruel and unforgiving. The fire became a turning point. News of Jack's heroic rescue spread through the community, silencing many doubters and skeptics. Pamela's trust in Jack solidified into something profound, a love born from shared trials and mutual protection. In the quiet aftermath, as they sat together with her child nestled safely in their arms, Pamela whispered, "I don't know what I'd do without you." Jack smiled softly, brushing a strand of her tangled blonde hair from her face. "You'll never have to find out," he promised. From that night forward, Pamela's fear began to give way to hope. Jack's presence was no longer just support. It was the foundation of a future she dared to dream of. Together, they faced the lingering shadows of the past and stepped forward into a new chapter, one forged through courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable strength of family. Over the months that followed, the bond between Jack and Pamela grew stronger, nurtured by their shared dedication to the children and the quiet moments of everyday life. Their relationship was not built on grand gestures alone, but on the small, meaningful ways they cared for one another, and for the family they were slowly becoming. Pamela's warmth extended naturally to Ethan, Jack's 6-year-old son. She listened patiently as he babbled about school and superheroes, helped him with his homework, and even learned to make his favorite pancakes on weekend mornings. Jack noticed the gentle way Pamela would smooth Ethan's hair before bed, and how the boy's face lit up whenever she entered the room. Her kindness bridged the gap between their worlds, softening the edges of uncertainty and making their blended family feel more whole. Ethan, initially shy around Pamela, soon began to show signs of affection that spoke louder than words. One afternoon, he tugged at Pamela's sleeve and whispered, "Mom, can you play with me?" Surprised but delighted, she smiled and agreed. Sometimes he called her Mom, other times Auntie, but always with a sincerity that touched both Pamela and Jack deeply. It was a sign that acceptance was blossoming, not just between two adults, but in the hearts of the children as well. Jack watched these moments with a growing sense of gratitude and love. He saw how Pamela's presence brought a new light into their home, how her resilience and tenderness filled spaces he hadn't realized were empty. The barriers of wealth and background seemed to melt away when he saw the genuine connection she shared with Ethan and his baby son. One chilly evening, the family gathered in the living room, a cozy fire crackling in the hearth. The children played with colorful blocks on the rug, their laughter echoing through the room. Ethan proudly showed Pamela the tower he'd built, while the baby gurgled happily in her arms. Jack leaned against the doorway, watching the scene with a soft smile. Suddenly, Ethan knocked down the tower with a triumphant shout, sending blocks flying everywhere. Pamela laughed, scooping up the baby and joining in the play. "You're going to have to build it again, Mom," Ethan teased. Jack chuckled, shaking his head at the simple joy filling their home. It was in these moments, filled with warmth, laughter, and playful teasing, that Jack realized how deeply he had fallen for Pamela. One evening, as they sat side by side watching the sunset from the porch, he turned to her with earnest eyes. "Pamela, I want you to know something. I love you. Not because of where we come from or what we have, but because of who you are. I want us to build a life together, a family." Pamela's breath caught. The vulnerability in Jack's words mirrored her own feelings. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she reached for his hand. "I love you too, Jack. I've never felt this safe, this hopeful. I want that family with you, no matter what challenges come our way." Their hands intertwined, sealing a promise born not just of love, but of shared trials and mutual respect. The children nearby sensed the moment, their eyes shining with the innocence and joy that come from witnessing a family's foundation being laid. This declaration marked a turning point, the fifth great peak in their journey together. It was a testament to how love, patience, and unwavering support could bridge divides and heal old wounds. Jack and Pamela's relationship had blossomed into something beautiful and enduring, one that promised a future filled with hope, laughter, and togetherness. A full year had quietly slipped by since that fateful day on the bustling city street, when Jack had intervened to protect Pamela and her newborn from danger. In those 12 months, life had changed in ways neither of them could have predicted. The once fragile, uncertain future of this small family had blossomed into a story of resilience, hope, and new beginnings. Pamela had steadily found her footing, securing a steady job at a local community center that specialized in helping families facing hardship, people very much like herself not long ago. The work gave her purpose and a renewed sense of dignity. It was more than just employment. It was a chance to give back, to become a beacon of hope for others navigating the same struggles. With Jack's unwavering support, she had moved out of the shelter and into a modest but warm and comfortable home. The place was far from luxurious, but filled with the kind of hope and security that made it feel truly like a sanctuary. Jack and Pamela had woven their lives tightly together, blending their worlds and their children's lives with tenderness and unwavering dedication. Mornings in their home were lively and joyful. Ethan, Jack's energetic 6-year-old son, and Pamela's baby raced through the rooms, their laughter bouncing off the walls, creating a soundtrack that spoke of family and belonging. Jack often found himself pausing to watch the two boys play, marveling at the distance they had traveled, from strangers connected by crisis to a household thriving on love, trust, and mutual respect. Pamela's transformation went beyond her circumstances. The hardship she had endured had shaped her, yes, but it had not broken her spirit. Inspired by the journey she herself had taken, Pamela became deeply involved in community work, volunteering time and energy to support other homeless families.